Welcome to the Immortal Podcast, episode 9, following BlizzCon line. I'm here with my co-host, Nemo, from the Scrappy Academy YouTube channel, and man, do we have a lot to talk about today. And you may be saying to yourself, we didn't get the answers we wanted from BlizzCon line about Diablo Immortal. We didn't hear that much. And you know what? For the initial announcements, minus maybe the interview that they did on day 2, that was true. Day 1, I kind of was like, man, I wanted more. I predicted Diablo Immortal being the star of the show, which I'm going to get into a little bit as well. But then we had our own interviews. I had a beautiful one-on-one interview with some of the development team. I put out a video yesterday on that and 8 more videos to come. And then Nemo had an interview with the development team as well, where he got even more information. So Nemo and I combined are going to be able to basically bring you everything that we were learning. And this may actually be 2 podcasts worth of content. Plus, we're going to be putting videos out entirely through this week, giving you all of that. But this is the episode 9 of the Immortal Podcast. Nemo, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing so good, Echo. Thanks so much. Of course, this is going to be probably one of the greatest episodes. We have so much information. I wouldn't even know where to start. 2 days of interviews. Then we had the personal interviews with the developers as well. And like Echo said, we actually got some really good information. It's kind of crazy. We got more information on those developer calls than we did in the entire BlizzCon. And I was blown away. I don't even know how many videos I'm going to have to make. There's so much info. So I'm super excited, super pumped. Let's get started. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Yeah, let's get into it. And Nemo, I titled this today that this is going to be about massive PvP coming to Diablo Immortal. And I have to say, there's more than that. There's a lot more than that. But that, for me, being the PvP enthusiast that I've been for Diablo Immortal, that was what I thought was like the biggest, most important piece of information that we got out of today. But we did get a lot of info. Now, Nemo, let's start, though, with the release date. The release date that we did not get. And by the way, I want to give love to everyone that's here for the Immortal Podcast. And I want to remind you guys, this podcast is not just me and Nemo. It is all of us. We are taking your questions from the chat and we are answering those questions here, even if they're bad questions, because there is no such thing, but like negative questions. We will take any questions you got. Shoot it to us. We're going to answer it. We're not scared. We don't fear it. Let's go. Nemo, what do we know about the release date? Because we didn't get a date, but we did get a bunch of information about the release progression of Diablo Immortal.
Well, so much info, right? So much. Okay, with release date, we did not get one. To be honest with you, though, I'm not really. I kind of wish they did give us some sort of a date so people would know what to drive towards. But at the same time, I'm not really like that heartbroken about it because I know it's coming in 2021, right? So there's only X amount of months that this can be released in, and every month that list is getting smaller and smaller, which is pretty exciting. So as far as the dates, what we did get, we got some, basically how they answered this was, they said, we don't have dates for you, but we do have a bunch of stuff that we already did and a bunch of stuff that we still have to do. We ended up getting, basically what they confirmed was that we're going to have a whole bunch of tests still coming up. There's multiple beta tests that are coming, they said. We don't have any dates yet, but multiple beta tests to basically test out a whole bunch of systems that they haven't tested yet, like the 45 to 60, the two extra classes. They said one of them they confirmed will be coming in the next test, and a bunch of other stuff like the PvP Echo talked about.
Yeah, and so in my interview with Wyatt, and I did put this clip. So my interview that I did was a half an hour. I basically asked 9 or 10 questions, and I'm taking each of those questions and making them into a piece of content. So the first piece that I put out yesterday was on this topic. And from that discussion, I got the feeling that we're going to be having, or I mean, it was basically said, we're going to be having multiple rounds of beta testing. Wyatt said, and I quote, we have more testing in front of us than we have behind us. So with that being said, they've had 2 rounds of testing behind them. They had the alpha internal and the alpha that we were part of, the technical alpha. They need to test the Necromancer, the Crusader. Not sure if they're going to come together. They need to test the end game, which is levels 50, 55, and 60. And at some point, they're going to have to test the PvP. So that's 4 different major elements of the game that still need to be tested. But with that being said, some of these tests could come together. So Nemo, we could get, for example, Crusader with a couple more zones added as well. So maybe level 50, level 55, even to level 60. It doesn't mean we have 4 more rounds of testing, but it means there's 4 more major topics that need to be tested. But you know something a little bit more about this, don't you? I mean, you were in this other interview that I was not part of, and you learned a little bit more about it as well. So why don't you share what you heard?
Sure. I actually jumped in there because we were able to ask some questions, and I jumped in there with a bunch of questions, and I directly asked Wyatt about this because that was one of the things I wanted to know. Like, is beta coming? How is there gonna be multiple betas? Do we know when they're coming? Is there like what kind of tests we're gonna have? So he basically said, like you said, he mentioned there's more testing ahead of us than behind us, which kind of blew me away. I was like, wow. So we have, let's say, what, like 9 months? So how many beta? How many? He didn't call it a beta either. He's like, there's more tests coming. He said, whether
Right.
it's called an alpha or a beta, we have to test. He said 45 through 60. We have to test multiple classes. So there's 2 classes because it sounds like we're gonna get one class in the next one, whichever one it is, and then afterwards we'll probably get the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Then he mentioned, let's see what else. He said 2 extra classes, PvP, more testing. What else? Oh, I have actually. The one thing that kind of was not good news. He confirmed that we are going to have wipes between those tests. So Echo, we're going to lose all progress every time they start a new test. So I did find that out for you, and then I went into device compatibility. But first, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
About device compatibility or about wipes and
No,
testing?
about the wipes and testing.
Okay, wipes and testing are a selfish thing for me, right? Like, testing is testing, and I don't have my notifications set right now, guys, but I do hear subscriptions and bits coming through. I want to say thank you guys for supporting the podcast, myself, Nemo, our channels, and everything that we're doing with Diablo Immortal. I do appreciate it so much. Love, thank you. I mean, it's amazing to get Diablo Immortal early. I wouldn't have wanted anything more than to be part of the technical alpha. It literally changed my mobile gaming experience because I was introduced to something that was just incredible. If we have multiple rounds of testing, I'm stoked. I want that testing. I want to be back inside of the game. I don't want to miss a second, and I want to grind. But also, I wish that we could keep some of the progress because it's a lot of time being invested. So basically, if every single round is wiped, and let's say they have 3 more rounds of testing, that means I'm going to have put in between 50 and 100 hours in each testing zone. And it's going, and then when the game comes out, I mean, I'm gonna be a pro already. By the time the game comes out, I'm gonna literally know this game like the back of my hand. That's what it comes down to. Good thing I'm here, you're here, Nemo, to make content so that everyone that is watching and just wishing they could have the game knows exactly what to expect, has those tips when they're going into the game, and they're ready to go. For us, you know what? It's our job, man. We're content creators. We're here to get what we can get and to inform the community about it. So do I wish that we would be able to keep progress? Yeah, of course I wish that, but that's being selfish. At the end of the day, we want to be here to support Blizzard so that we can give them the best chance of exploding once the game comes out. So yeah, I mean, do I wish we could save progress? Yeah, but is it a big deal? No, not at all. Testing is just that. It's a testing phase for testing. But so let's move on to another topic. Now that we know, I mean, at the end of the day, we know that it's going to release in 2021. That was said in the investors call. That's going to happen. So that's cool. But the next topic is PvP. This is the big boy in today's podcast, at least in my opinion. In my interview, and this is going to be the next video that I put out as well, probably later today or tomorrow, depends on how quickly I can record and edit that up. I brought up all of my ideas. A matchmaking system. I brought up team deathmatch, battle royale, domination style objective-based gameplay, and I brought up war. Now, I don't want to show you guys the clip yet. I'm saving that for the video. But when I mentioned war, guild versus guild, alliance versus alliance, when you watch my video, look at the faces of the developers. Watch Wyatt's face. And at first, I said, ooh, that means they're probably not going to be doing it. But then after what we heard in day 2 of BlizzCon, when they were talking about when they were doing that Q&A, Wyatt did mention there is going to be a guild versus guild system, and you are going to be able to play mass battles against other guilds. Now, I don't know what mass means. I don't know if that means 150 in one guild versus 150 in another guild, or if it means 10v10. Nemo, what do you think about this, first of all, and what else may you have grabbed from your interview that you had with them?
This was amazing. Yeah, I mean, that was actually the first question asked at the interview. As soon as they said go, I believe Leviathan was the first one that said, "Oh,
Mhm.
hold on, what are we doing here?" So I did see. It's definitely coming. So what can I say about it? I saw his face during the Q&A that they showed at day two, and then he expanded a little bit more. Both him and Julian Love, the combat designer, expanded that he was also on the interview, expanded a bit more on the guild. So this is what they said. They said we have no information. That's the first thing they came off. We have no information to tell you about this yet. But then when they started talking about the guild systems, because we talked about dungeons and how that would work, they mentioned about the guild stuff. They mentioned that they want to make sure that they give people the activity to work together. They want the guilds to be able to work together towards something. And whether it's you being in multiple guilds or you being in one guild, they haven't really talked about that exactly. But he danced around the subject. But there's what they basically said told us that there is going to be some sort of a um, big war mode, but they didn't give us any more information about that. They went into the social aspects of the guild and how they were they were trying to figure out whether they want you to be part of like one guild or maybe jump around into multiple guilds and how that would work as far as like the rewards and what guild you're in and etc. That type of stuff. But they didn't go into details as far as what exactly this PvP mode is going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, what we got out of it is they value PvP. We know that they value PvP, and it's going to be in Diablo Immortal. An exact format of it, I'm not sure. Now, out of all the things that I suggested over the time, I think that the war element of it is my favorite. I think about nice mug you have there, Nemo. Just saying.
You like it?
I do. That is a
It's
beautiful,
my it's
beautiful
new
mug.
and fresh. I just got it a couple of days ago, actually.
Well, thank you for your support, my friend. Back on topic. Think about challenging others. I just love, because Blizzard's always mentioned they want this to be a social game. They want Diablo Immortal to be social. Well, there's no better way to be social than be able to take your crew to face off against this crew. The band of brothers and sisters are working together to defeat your opponents, whether they're friends, whether they're people that you have some beef with that you want to take them out. You can have those events. Now, a matchmaking system like Battle Royale, like Team Deathmatch, yeah, that's cool. That's fun too. But it doesn't have that brotherhood and that sisterhood that a guild war has. And I mean, if we think about Clash of Clans that I play and that you also play, Nemo, like, you have your clan, you have a relationship with those people. And I know that this is what Blizzard is looking to do with Diablo Immortal. They don't want you to just be in there to play the game for yourself. They want you to build relationships with people. And the best way to do PvP to support that is this war system, because you're going to have relationships with people. You're going to be able to build up strength in numbers with your alliance. I mean, some alliances are going to be a bunch of randoms that are together, and then you're going to have our alliance. It's going to be, built of people that have been supporting us for so long, that are part of our Discord server, that are part of our online family, and we're going to be able to go in and really just have some fun in PvP. So I'm really looking forward to that, and I was excited to hear that it was confirmed that there's going to be this type of PvP inside of the game. Nemo?
So one thing, right? You're right. There is a confirmation of this PvP. They said there's more stuff to come. I love his face though. The face when it was like there's definitely something coming. You can see it on his face. He's excited. He just can't say it yet. The one thing that I take away from this, I don't know if anybody watched the Diablo 4 stuff, but one thing that was kind of cool, and I wonder if they would like bring that into Immortal. If you saw in Diablo, there was like this whole aspect of you playing in a zone. So you jump in, you with your friends, and then you start doing stuff in this neutral zone. And let's say like you collect shards or something like that. And these shards are super important and you need them for a certain currency. But the only way, like, is you jump into the zone, you kill a bunch of monsters, you have these shards on you. and then you have to go to this portal, basically activate the portal and extract out of there. And when you activate the portal, that basically turns on the PvP, and anybody in the zone is able to see that you're trying to extract. And when they come in there and kill you, they can take the shards from you and then extract themselves. And that creates a whole PvP aspect of it because it's kind of cool, right? This is done many times. Like I don't know if you've heard of Division 2. I loved playing that. In Division 1, you can go rogue, extract out, and you got these sweet loot. But the only way to get it is to get out of the zone alive with it. That's coming to Diablo 4, it seems like. So I wonder, would that be like a really cool mode for Immortal? What do you think about that?
I think that they're developing these games simultaneously. There is nothing, and this was another question that I had in my interview, there's nothing that's holding them back from developing anything on mobile. The mobile platform doesn't have restrictions. And I thought that maybe you couldn't do certain things on mobile that you could do on PC, but really there are no restrictions. So, and I'm going to get into that more in depth in a video, but why, if they have an idea that they think is good enough for Diablo 4, why wouldn't they also co-build that inside of Diablo Immortal? If it's so good, if it's the PvP method for Diablo 4, why ignore it and not put it in Immortal? And vice versa. If in Immortal something is awesome, why not build it in Diablo 4? And I wonder if they're going to be using Diablo Immortal, since it's going to release first, as a testing ground for gameplay modes to try and maybe implement in Diablo 4. I mean, what a way to be able to test it without impacting your I mean, I don't want to say cash cow, because at the end of the day, I think Diablo Immortal is probably going to make more money than Diablo 4 just because of the platform itself and monetization. But I mean, Diablo 4 is going to be like, you know, that's what the encompassing Diablo community has been waiting for. The mobile Diablo community is now waiting for Immortal, but the others, you know, the big boy PC guys, they're waiting for it on PC. So if they could use Diablo Immortal as a testing ground, that's a smart play. If something's working really well on Immortal, they could quickly say, you know, why don't we mess around with this and tweak this the coding a little bit here and try and bring this game mode over to Diablo 4. So that's exciting as well. But yes, I was trying my best to pay attention even during the Diablo 4 content, because there was a lot of it. I just thought that they kind of are like brothers right there. You know, they're very similar. I want to give a shout out right now to Greg 2G coming through, another content creator, part of the Alpha program. He's over here on YouTube. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, man, I'm excited about it. Now, I want to talk about one thing first. In a video, I predicted that Diablo Immortal was going to be the star of BlizzCon. Well, that didn't happen. Diablo Immortal was still very quiet. They really focused on the new class coming to Diablo 4. And, you know, and after I made that prediction, I sat back and I thought to myself, well, what is the primary BlizzCon audience? And the primary BlizzCon audience is not mobile gamers, not yet at least, because the game isn't out yet. It's primarily the PC community. Those are the diehards. Those are the people that are sitting there watching. So after I made my prediction, I sat back and I was like, I wonder if I'm actually wrong here. I'm wondering if it's going to be more D4 focused, which it was. And then on the BlizzCon page, there was a wallpaper section, Nemo, and I tweeted this out, where you could download the wallpapers of the topics. There was none for Diablo Immortal. There were the gates there for Diablo 4. There was every game one, but there was none specific for Diablo Immortal. Every other game had a specific one. You know, I really wanted a Diablo Immortal wallpaper, and I didn't download any of them. On spite alone, I wanted my Diablo Immortal one, but it wasn't there. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, you know what? I think my prediction was wrong. That was even before BlizzCon started. I was like stalking the page to see what was there, and yeah, we were not hidden, because they definitely had a lot of discussion about it, more than we've had at any other BlizzCon. But it wasn't the year that D4 is going to release. It's going to be a massive deal at that BlizzCon, where they didn't do that for Diablo Immortal, even though it's releasing this year. And I have to say that I get it, right? Because the audience that was there, they cared less about Diablo Immortal. They'd be more excited about the Diablo 4 news. Right, Nemo?
Well, so one thing, I did check the wallpapers. I actually went on the D4 wallpapers, and I was wondering if it would be really funny if they had the mobile version of D4 wallpaper versus Diablo Immortal, but they didn't. It was just regular Diablo For wallpaper. As far as the Immortals show, so to speak, now I kind of agree with you in a sense, right? Diablo Immortal is what's coming this year, not Diablo 4. I mean, you remastered is coming, so I figured that would be sort of like the start of the show. But Immortal is their new, pride and whatever. Well, maybe not to some people, but it is their pride and joy in a sense. So I figured that would be the showcase. But I do hear what you're saying. BlizzCon is primarily a well, it's a very hardcore enthusiast group of people that are primarily PC gamers. I think of this year, honestly, I think next year, once Immortal releases, I think things will change a lot. I do agree. When Diablo 4 comes out, it's going to be the star of BlizzCon for sure. That's what they're going to focus on. But I also think that once Immortal comes out and the community of people expands, once the mobile community comes in, we're going to flood the gates. I'm telling you, we're going to definitely take over the PC community. And next year's BlizzCon, or maybe the year after that, I bet you that Immortal will have a bigger spotlight once the community actually, gets it into their hands, plays it, and then the mobile community shows up and shows our numbers because we're way. Now, I love PC. Don't get me wrong. I'm definitely part of the PC community as well, but the mobile community is massive. It's way bigger than the PC community.
Yeah, it is. And that's just based on people being able to engage in those games because everyone doesn't have the proper hardware. And yeah, and Nemo is like his day job is PC related. Like everything that he does is PC related. But he has that love for Diablo Immortal. By the way, I want to give a little bit of love right now to Bloodshed. He had that interview that was the day one exclusive interview with the developers, and I think he did a really nice job. Asked some really great questions. And I mean, how awesome is that to be featured at BlizzCon? He's been creating content. He's established himself enough to be in that position to represent Diablo Immortal as the talent focusing on Diablo Immortal. Big ups to him. That was a really great job. I predict, here's another heavy prediction here, Nemo, that the Immortal podcast will be doing an interview next year at BlizzCon.
Oh,
That's my bold prediction. I think it's going to happen.
I'm going to have my lucky hat ready to go.
All right, so we have other stuff to talk about. We have more. I want to specifically talk about something that you heard in your interview. And there's a few things I have in mind, Nemo, but I'm going to let you cherry pick what you want to talk about next. And I want to remind you guys, if any more questions are coming through the chat, I've been answering some of them in the chat itself. Let me know, hit me up, and we'll talk about them. So what's the next topic that you want to talk about, Nemo?
Oh man, there are so many. Let's talk a little bit about raids because one of the questions was asked about the raids. There were actually a lot of questions asked about raids, and this was a really good one because I feel like the dev team didn't tell us a lot about it. And like, okay, so the questions was what's going on with the raids in Diablo Immortal. If anybody knows what raids are in general, if you played like Destiny or you played maybe World of Warcraft, a raid is a activity that's based on you get together with a bunch of your friends and you jump in, and if you haven't heard of it, it's not like a rift, right? A rift where you go in, you kill a bunch of mobs, and then you get to the boss, you kill the boss, and it's over. A raid is a lot more complicated than that. There's usually multiple levels. There's multiple like bosses until you get to the main one. There's puzzles. Like you have to be prepared. You can't just go in there like smashing stuff and then just get to the boss and win. You have to have certain builds. You might even like have to have certain characters. So like let's say me and Echo jump in, he's running with his barbarian, I got my wizard, we're gonna need the other characters for their buffs. We get together, we get all the friends going, and then we jump in and do this activity, whether it's 15 minutes or 3 hours and etc. So that's what a raid is. So the question was asked, what's going on with Diablo Immortal and raids? We know they're coming. First of all, how many people are going to be in the raid? And second of all, what is it going to be like? What's the flavor of the raid? Is it more like World of Warcraft? Is it more like something else? Is it going to be quick where you can just jump in, do your thing, and come out? Or is it going to be 3 hours where you have to sit down with your friends and try to beat it? That was the question. The answer was basically they're saying that they're still figuring it out. The technology they said supports up to now this was I'll have to go double check my video, but they said supports 8 people and more. So they can right now, if they wanted to, run a raid with 8+ people. They together, and we could do stuff within that raid. But they asked themselves and us, is that something that makes sense? Do you want to have that many people running around together? Is it going to be really hectic? Like how would the raid work? Like what happens if people jump out and they can't, be there for that long? Those types of questions. It was really good. Is it the right type of content? That's what they asked. So to me, because there's a lot of coordination that's involved, right? You can't just jump into a raid, like I said. So me, Echo, a bunch of others might need to get on VC or something like that, get puzzles going, get things like that going. Is it something that we want? So that was a conversation around the raid stuff, and to me, it seems like they're still actually working on some of those things. They're still trying to either they're trying to still figure it out, or they don't have the information that they want to give us yet. But that was the conversation around raids. It was actually really exciting. It's one of my favorite parts of just in general about content. I'm looking forward to that, but it's definitely coming. What do you think about that, Echo?
I mean, I think they have so many ideas and so many possibilities of things that they can put inside of the game that they're kind of like, what do we want? Do we want to put too, like, we don't want to put too much inside of the game, especially at launch. I love the idea of raids. I think of raids as me, you, a couple of people from the Alliance just getting in, doing a raid at night, streaming it to the community, and just having some really great long-term sessions. You know, now when we were playing Diablo Immortal with the technical alpha, we were doing our bounties, we were going inside of dungeons, doing Elder Rifts and things like that. But it'd be really cool to have one big objective that's going to take you a couple hours to complete, and that is the stream. Not doing all the other things, but just to have that objective in mind. You're going to go and do this raid, and I think that would be just a lot of fun. You know, another way to incorporate working together in a PvE style, playing against computer generated stuff rather than playing against other people. Because listen, there's times I don't want to play against other people. I want to have more of a relaxing time, kick back a little bit more and enjoy playing the game. And then there's those times where I want to get it in and I want to fight against other people to show how strong I am inside of whatever game it may be, or, you know, something like that. So they're really bringing every element of gaming is going to be here. Open world campaign style with different objectives that you can do. They're going to have the dungeons, the Elder Rift. They're going to have PvP where you're going to play against others in multiple forms. And they're going to be doing these raids where you can come together with larger groups. It's like they're taking multiple different game styles and pushing them into Diablo Immortal. You have a little bit of WoW in there. You have a little bit of PvP from other style games out of genre. You have the traditional Diablo style stuff. And I want to give a shout out because we have 9ball and we have SVR in the chat, royalty from the Diablo 3 world. Hope you guys enjoyed BlizzCon as well. Now I have a question. I don't know if they're going to answer, but SVR and 9ball, if BlizzCon was more heavily focused on Diablo Immortal instead of Diablo 4, how would you guys have felt being Diablo 3 and PC Diablo fans? I'll be waiting for your answer. We could come back to that in a minute. But Nemo, you talked about something else that I did not hear until right before this show. You talked about cosmetics and you talked about pets. Are we ready to share this yet?
It's gonna be an interesting one. We can. Yeah, I'm ready. You want to? All right. Let's
you heard
it.
it. You share it, man.
Well, lots of information. Cosmetics, pets, mounts. We got some info. Actually, I believe Greg, who's in the chat, asked about the pets and the mounts. But first, cosmetics, right? So there are cosmetics coming to the game. Somebody asked if we're going to have a chicken suit, and that was confirmed to be a no. So if you wanted to be a barbarian and run around like a chicken in Sanctuary, that's a negative for you. I'm sorry. But there are going to be lots of cool cosmetics. Now, what they stated is there's a lot of stuff planned for this, and they're going to be drip dropping this to us. So it's not going to be like, here's 100 things at once. They're going to slowly go in and do this. Also, they confirmed that cosmetics will be coming onto the paid battle pass route. So if you're in the battle pass and you're in the paid version, you will be able to get cosmetics like somewhere near towards the end, I think. And from what I understand, these cosmetics are going to be why it's stated that they're going to be just there. Like once they're there and they're gone, you're not going to be able to get them again. So those are exclusive cosmetics to that time. That's really cool. There was a bunch of other stuff. There was no specifics as far as what kind of cosmetics, but they stated there's lots of stuff coming, and it's going to be really, really cool in Diablo theme as far as the cosmetics. Some negative news. They also confirmed that so far there was no plans to have any kind of mount, which I guess is okay because I don't really care about mounts. But then they also said no pets. So now Wyatt did state that they're open to this possibility, and maybe in the future they will be adding them. But so far, no mounts, no pets, and lots of cosmetics coming.
No pets. I have to go pick up my own darn gold.
Yep.
No wings.
No wings. no mounts.
No wings, no mounts. So they talked about in my interview the different ways that they're going to monetize the game. And one of the, and we're going to talk about that next after I get back to SVR and Nine Ball's response, because they did both respond over on Twitch, and I want everyone to hear that. They did say the 4 ways they're going to monetize. One of those was cosmetics. So huge cosmetics, in my opinion, would be considered pets and wings, but they're not going that route. So is it just going to be skins, or are they bringing something brand new? Are they bringing something that is just new to Diablo, as far as like maybe some other type of thing that you wear on your back instead of wings? I don't know. But let's go back, because that was a big deal. That's something we haven't heard yet, and you heard it in that exclusive interview, so happy we were able to share it with everyone here. In my question to SVR and Nine Ball, I wish we had them as a guest right now, but they're not on the show today. We'll have them back soon. I asked just a few moments ago if they would have been disappointed if Immortal was the star of the show and D4 took a back seat. SVR responds, and I quote, "I would have been totally okay with it. D4 will happen eventually." And I want to say, eventually is right. It's going to take years to develop this game to the point where it's ready to release. It needs time, and they can't share anything. That's okay with me. Good things take time. Until then, I'm fine spending my time with Immortal and kicking your butt in the PvP arena. This man. I offer wizard coaching. If you would like to learn how to perfect your wizard skills, you can contact me. We could talk for free, of course. Nine Ball says, I mean, Immortal is closer to release. It would make more sense to have bigger, bolder showcasing for Immortal, but it's still a PR thing with balancing Immortal and D4 due to the community. And it's exactly what we were saying. Once Immortal comes out, everyone can play it, and I think that will change. And 100% true, right? We still have the people that aren't mobile players. People that, I mean, Nine Ball never played a mobile game. I don't know that SVR did either. They were not mobile players. And Immortal may have been their first experience. Well, I'll first of all tell you guys, you were extremely spoiled with your first experience on mobile, because I have played tons of crappy mobile games, and you find a couple of the really great ones that you decide that you're going to spend years playing. Diablo Immortal is the best. So you got in at the right time if we're talking about playing mobile games. But it's nice to hear from 2 veteran, hardcore Diablo PC players that they would have been okay if Immortal had more of a highlight. But they also played it, right? They spent 50 to 100 hours playing it, so they know it was good. The rest of the community that hasn't actually felt Diablo Immortal, they may have felt differently, because, you know, they still have that question, which they will know soon enough. But we want to talk about monetization, and I'm basically spoiling all my videos, although I am going to give you a little bit more depth in those videos. But I want to talk about monetization. I brought up legendary crests in my interview, and you probably had a discussion at some point with someone about this as well. And I asked the question, you know, after the technical alpha, you heard feedback from mobile gamers, from the PC gamers, and people said things about legendary crests. They mentioned, is this pay to win? Is this a way that you feel comfortable monetizing the game? And in this discussion, Wyatt discussed and said that there's 4 ways they want to monetize the game. They want to do legendary crests, they want to do cosmetics, they want to do the battle pass, and they want to do reforged stones. So those are the 4 ways that this game's going to be monetized. There's not going to be ads in the game. There's not going to be spam inside of the game. You're not going to be having deals thrown at you. You know, when you play some mobile games and, you know, it just pops up, buy this now. I mean, it's something we come to be used to, and it's not, for me, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but for the people that are going to be playing that are new to mobile, they're not going to want to see that. And Blizzard knows that. The team knows that. So they're not going to throw that at people. If you want to buy things in the game, sure, you go to the buy here tab and you go buy it, but it's not going to be spammed at you. But Wyatt had mentioned that legendary crests is just one of the ways to gain power, to gain strength, and it's not going to take away from having to grind through and actually spend the hours playing the game, grinding your Paragon, which we're going to see more extensions on the Paragon trees, and just grinding through your progress throughout the game. It's not like you could play the game for 2 hours a week, spend $1,000 a week, get all of these legendary crests, and then, well, I guess you would be playing for more than an hour anyway, running your Elder Rifts, but you're not going to be able to just gain this ton of power from purchasing. Will you be able to fill out your gems more quickly and stuff like that? Yes, you will more quickly, but others will be able to catch up through grinding through the game. So me, I never had a massive issue with it. I never was scared of the legendary crest. I know Nemo, you had a little bit more reservation than me, but nothing compared to some of the D3 community who has never seen this dynamic before. So I think, to be honest, they were comfortable with with where it was. Will they tweak it a little bit? Maybe, but I don't think it was. They heard anything that was like, "Oh my God, we better stop with this legendary crest thing and not do it." Maybe they'll add a cap to how many you could buy per day. Maybe they'll say you could only run 20 legendary crests per day, and that's all. You can't run 5,000 if you want to spend the entire day doing it. I don't know, but they were comfortable with the legendary crest system. But cosmetics, awesome. And cosmetics can be, it's not only cosmetics for your hero. It could also be frames around stuff, guild flags and things like that. I mean, honestly, cosmetics are never ending. The possibilities, you could do whatever with them. So I was comfortable hearing what I heard about Diablo Immortal's monetization method. It is far less intrusive to some of these other games that I personally play and enjoy that are crazy pay to win, where I know people that spend thousands of dollars per month on these mobile games. I actually heard the other day, I'm not going to mention the person nor the game, that has spent $350,000 inside of their server on a mobile game in one of these war style games. Now, obviously, this person has a ton of money to burn, but you better believe in that game, that person is powerful and ruining the gaming experience for others. So knowing that this stuff happens, I look at this, I'm like, this is not a big deal at all. It's more of a Clash of Clans monetization method where you can progress more quickly than a method where you can gain power that others will never be able to achieve. Nemo, how do you feel about it? I want to give a shout out right now to Squad Trek in the chat and AWOL Digital. If you haven't checked out his podcast, he does the Digital Drop podcast every single day, talking about the latest trends in mobile gaming. So make sure, or gaming in general, not only mobile gaming. So check him out, AWOL Digital, with the Digital Drop podcast. Nemo, back to you.
Yeah.
What do you think about the crest? I mean, I don't know if you had that conversation in your meeting. I did have it in mine. Do you have anything to add? Your feelings, the other creators who were in your meeting, maybe their thoughts on it.
Well, so I could probably spend we could spend 2 hours talking about this. I'll be honest with you. I did actually directly ask Wyatt. That was one of my questions. We got a few, and one of the questions that I had was deep dive into monetization. I wanted to know more information about the legendary quests and how it all works. You're right. At first, I had a little bit more of a reservation versus others. But at the same time, it was just a little bit of a reservation. I'll echo what you said. I do not think that there is any kind of predatory monetization systems at all in Immortal. I know that some people jumped onto this whole legendary crest thing because they haven't seen the full, the full scope of the game and how it all works. And they said, oh, well, it's going to be pay to win and this and that. There's so much more to that than just that. I mean, I don't want to kind of, basically spend an hour talking about it, but I do not think that the monetization system is bad at all. I think that the legendary quests are kind of a cool way of offering value to the people that are going to be supporting the game. You're right. Like some people do spend so much money in these games. Just as a side note, like imagine spending all this money in a game and then the game having to just, like just drop and like go away. Like for example, Raziel. Did you know that Raziel is shutting down?
What?
Imagine. Yeah.
Are you
Yeah. I heard this on
serious?
the news. Hot news. Yeah. A couple of days ago, they said, thanks a lot. We tried. See you later. And
You know
imagine
why? This just in, that happened because they saw Diablo Immortal and they said, crap, no one's gonna play our game anymore because this is coming out. That's 100% why they did that.
well, I mean, imagine
100%.
spending money in the game and then just like, just go see you later. Like, what do you mean? But this type of stuff happens. And the predatory systems are pretty crazy in these games. We're not talking like just an ad. We're talking having to buy heroes, having to buy actual content. So I'm not going to go into this. We'll make videos about this. I specifically asked about monetization and I wanted to know specifically some things. First, I wanted to know, are the legendary crests and legendary gems are going to be tied just to the Elder Rifts? And so far, they've thrown some ideas around, but looks like the legendary crests are going to be tied to an Elder Rift. Like you're not going to be able to use a legendary crest anywhere else so
Mhm.
far. There's going to be other ways of getting legendary crests. I did ask about that. It's not going to be just through the challenge rift or through like some of the paid routes or free routes of the battle pass. There's going to be, from what we hear, legendary crests tied to other things that you're going to be able to grab from there. I did pick up that information also. I also asked about platinum because platinum in the game wasn't really like there wasn't really a purpose for it. I mean, you could get one legendary crest per day for 3,000 platinum, but other than that, like what's platinum for?
Yeah.
Because we need a higher level. So yeah, that's why I said in my video, I'm like, we can't really say what we know about the monetization because we don't know what all this stuff is being used for. And from what I understand, platinum has a purpose, and we're gonna find out more about it soon. There is a something that's gonna be happening with platinum as well. So there was a lot of work in progress and a bunch of other systems coming to this as far as the high level and legendary crest and how it all works. So I did get more information. I'm sure we'll make more videos about it. But so far, that's kind of like one I want to, touch on.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I want to mention one thing, and I don't know that I've ever said this before, but we played the technical alpha. We could not spend money. There was no way for us to spend, and there's not going to be ways for us to spend in any of the upcoming testing because it's going to be wiped. The next couple of testing rounds, betas, call them what you will, is going to be a wipe. So they can't make us pay because then we're going to lose everything that we pay for, unless they would do refunds, and that would just get messy. So I want to mention, during my 80 to 100 hours of gameplay of Diablo Immortal, I never once felt that I needed to pay for something to continue on. There's no paywall inside of Diablo Immortal. There's many games where you could play a good 20 hours. That's where they suck you in. You know, they get you in there and you're like, wow, this game is great. And then once you hit that, you're like, well, if I want to progress anymore, I need to open my wallet. I need to pay here. And Diablo Immortal, Blizzard, they are gamer first, gaming experience first. They said they will never sacrifice your gaming experience for them making money or something else, like the gameplay first. And they believe, and this is from what I'm getting from that, if the gameplay is good, if you enjoy yourself, you will spend money, and they will be able to support the game because you're gonna love the game, you're gonna spend on the game, and it's just gonna kind of support itself. So just wanted to mention that. Now, we do have a question from Squad Trek in the chat, and he says, where do we see the Diablo franchise in 5 years? Now, I have an answer on the tip of my tongue, Nemo, but do you want to take this first, or should I scream out what I have?
You know what? You go first. I'll follow you because I have some things I want to say too.
Okay, first of all, the Diablo franchise as a whole is about to see, in my opinion, a massive bump, because we are going to have a community, a massive community, millions, hundreds of millions of players that have never played Diablo. They've never played it, maybe because they're younger. They've never played it because maybe they don't have a console or a PC, or maybe they just never played it because they never had the interest. They're going to play Diablo Immortal because they can get it for free. They can get it on their phone, which is an easily accessible device, and you better believe it's going to be advertised. It's going to be showing in your app store. It's going to be the iOS app store's game of the month. You know why? Because the game is incredible. It's going to be the game of the month, and everyone's going to try it, and they're going to love it. Or, I mean, I anticipate everyone is going to love this game. But after they love it, they're going to say, well, wow, there's more of this. We can get Diablo 2, we can get Diablo 3, we can get Diablo 2 Remastered, Diablo 4 is coming out. I want to get more inside of this game. And you're going to get people buying the older versions of Diablo, which now, if they didn't have a ton of money, the games are fairly cheap right now. They're not brand new games, but the gameplay experience is still incredible. Basically, Diablo Immortal is going to act as a billboard advertising the entire Diablo franchise without even trying to do it. It's just the nature of moving over to this platform is going to just give huge fuel to all the other Diablo games. I mean, Nemo and I make videos on Diablo 3 as well as Diablo Immortal. And just taking you into the backside of our analytics quickly, BlizzCon happened. Our Diablo 3 videos started to skyrocket in views. Everyone's looking into Diablo 3. Why? No one talked about Diablo 3 at BlizzCon. Well, it's because BlizzCon brought attention to the Diablo franchise. So people are saying, oh, well, why should I play Diablo 3 in 2021? So they come watch our videos that talk about that. And just an event like that is giving that kind of exposure. When Diablo Immortal comes out, I anticipate sales of D3 specifically getting back on the incline after Immortal. Nemo, how do you feel about it?
I completely agree with what you're saying. I think the Immortal is basically going to be the spear that breaks through this wall. a lot of people, a lot of my friends have heard of Blizzard. They've heard of some Diablo games, but they don't have PC. They don't play. They don't have that much time. Like they have kids. They have this. They have that. They don't have rigs. They just don't play that. They don't like to them. The Diablo was a little bit scary because it was a PC game because it required lots of grinding and this and that. Immortal is a completely different story, and the fact that it's free to play is what's going to allow everyone to try it. Like you said, right? All of my friends said, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely download Immortal. I've seen some of your videos." They would never buy the game and play it, but now that they've seen the video and they heard about it, they said, "I'll download and I try it." And like you said, once it starts trending and goes up with the Google Play Store and people download it, we played this game. We know that there's nothing even close to Immortal in the App Store. I mean, nothing. We download games constantly. We go through the store, download and play all these games, and I'm telling you right now, nothing even close comes to Immortal. And when people start playing it and seeing how smooth it is, how nice it is, and then the gameplay, it's engaging. It gives you, I feel like it gives you a lot of flavor. It gives you a lot to bite into. If you want to be just a kind of player just jumps in and does a little bit of play and does whatever, that's great. There's a whole bunch of opportunity for you to do that. If you want to be a Leviathan and jump in there and blast and set up alarm schedules around, chests and go climb leaderboards and go grind the coolest gear and do all of that stuff, you can do that as well. And you can all live in the same universe of Immortal. And that Immortal lives on the universe of the mobile device, which everyone has. So once everybody gets onto the mobile platform and starts looking at this, they're going to say, wow. And from there, they'll either stay on the mobile and continue, or they'll jump into and say, oh, let's check out Diablo 4 or whatever. I have a PC, I have a console, I have a Switch, I have this, I have that. And then that will expand the other communities of Diablo as well. But I'm telling you, mark my words, once Immortal comes out, that is going to flood the Diablo community. The mobile community will be the biggest, and it's going to be, I think it's going to flood everyone else. I think it's going to become, so like the next BlizzCon or the one after that, I hope to see Immortal being the star of the show, and I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with it. That's my prediction.
No, I don't think so either. And we actually just got some questions in the chat that we could kind of play off of that as well. But I mean, Diablo Immortal is a big play. It's a big play for Blizzard. They could have taken Diablo 3, ported it to mobile, and had Diablo 3 on mobile. That would have brought a ton of money to Blizzard. That would have been the money play, right? But instead, they decided to go create a game in full that is just for mobile. They went the hard route to make the money with the big, in my opinion, it was a big play because Diablo 3 players wouldn't go download Diablo 3 on their phone. They wouldn't do that. But they would download Diablo Immortal, a new game experience on their phone. So they definitely made the right step. Now, Lime in the chat had mentioned map size and players that could be on a server. Now, I don't know map size. I do know that out of all the hours that I played through all of the zones, there were always things popping up. They have pop-up events, pop-up things happening, secret things that pop up here and there that are random. I could not say right now that I know the maps, that I could go in and I could take you to this point in the map and take you to this and that, because they're big. There's a lot going on in them, and things are always changing inside of the maps, which is really cool. As far as guild size, it was 150 people. As far as server size, the only thing that I had heard actually wasn't from BlizzCon, but it was hundreds of thousands of people. Is that correct, Nemo? Is that the correct?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands. Sorry, yeah, tens of thousands of people. That's a lot of people on a server.
Yeah, yeah, and there was also phasing, right? They also mentioned that it's not gonna, like, for people who are here and wondering like how would that work? Would that overcrowd anything? It won't, because like basically they'll phase people in and out. They'll have just the right amount of people in the zone, so to worry.
Yeah, that's really nice, because it's great to have the idea of tons of people there, but you got to think of the overcrowding. What's West March going to look like with thousands of people running through it at the same time? It could get ugly. It could get messy. So I love that they have that in mind as well. Nemo, what's our next topic?
Well, some people, a lot of people are asking about. I actually asked this question. A lot of people are asking about devices. So AWOL here is asking, do we have concerns that this will not perform well on mid to low end devices as far as the gameplay and how it looks, right? Because it looks really good. And then a lot of other people are asking, what kind of phones is it going to perform on? What is it not? I asked this exact question to Wyatt himself because I knew people wanted to know device compatibility. And I said, Can you give us a little bit more about what you're trying to go? Like, are you driving towards a list of devices that maybe will not be compatible? Are you going to have a list that will be compatible? What's the plan? So the overall plan is to make sure that obviously that Diablo runs on most devices, right? They want the more people to play it, obviously. He did not give me a list. He did not give me any specifications, and he stayed away from that. He said he doesn't have that information at the moment. He said I'm sure what he mentioned was that the next set of tests will definitely expand that list a lot. The first set, the alpha test, was very, very specific. They said on certain devices, they wanted to test on specific, very small pool of devices. So that list will expand, and as we get closer and closer to release, there should be a very, very big list. They said that mid tier devices should be able to support Immortal. As far as the specs, we do not know anything yet. They haven't told us.
Yeah, nothing yet. They did say 120 hertz. It wouldn't be available to play on that from start. I will say that my experience was on this iPad. This iPad here, I got, man, it's got to be 3, coming up on 4 years ago. The footage that you're watching right here, this is from this iPad right here. And I was running it at max settings. I just couldn't set up the auto, what was it, the extended mode, right? What was that even called?
It was the high FPS mode.
Right. I couldn't turn on high FPS mode on here. I could turn it on my phone. I had no lagging. I had no hangups. The game ran smooth on a tablet that cost me $400 3.5 years ago, let's say. So I would say that you could even get something, you could even play Diablo Immortal on something that's a bit older, lowering the specs and stuff like that. I really do feel that being able to play on a variety of different devices, I mean, being able to play on something that was that old with max specs, except for that high FPS mode because it wasn't available, I think that's pretty good. And I don't have an answer, but on like what particular phones, especially because I don't know Android phones. I don't know what all that Snapdragon stuff means, but I think we're going to be in good hands. Don't fear if it's not in the App Store for you right now for you to pre-register, because, well, they don't want that because of the testing phases and that footage getting released. If you can't do it there, just go on their website and do it, or go on BlueStacks and pre-register there. Pre-register somewhere, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And as far as the I played it the same on a 3-year-old iPad. That could be considered. I guess that you could consider that a low to a mid tier device, and it played fine. So to answer AWOL's question, I think that yes, we will be able to play it on like the mid, maybe a little bit lower than mid tier devices once the game fully comes out. So a good question.
Yep. So any last topics that we want to cover before we go? And we have Boost saying in there, BlueStacks. BlueStacks is a program that you can use on PC to play mobile games on your computer. Very popular program. I use it for certain games, and there is a registration page on BlueStacks for Diablo Immortal. Not yet confirmed that Blizzard's going to be okay with playing Diablo Immortal on BlueStacks, but I get the feeling that they are going to be okay with it. Speaking of that, they also are happy to entertain people playing on controllers as well. So they don't have an issue with controller support for Diablo Immortal, which is really cool, right? Because I wasn't sure. With the technical alpha, they wanted us to play with the game screen just to kind of try to test it out. They wanted to test that mechanic of the game. But when the game releases, BlueStacks, I'm not sure about BlueStacks, but controllers should be good to go. I think we're going to be okay. And honestly, if you have a phone that's over 5 years old, I don't know, it's time to upgrade your phone. 5 years old phones. I mean, if I don't get a new phone every 2 years, they don't even run great for me.
Yeah, I agree. You should upgrade your phone. And 5 is a bit of a cutoff. Like 2-3 years is technology, especially the last few years. They've really made a lot of improvements. And remember, the game when it was developed, right? This game particularly having to be completely online with all of the players being around you. Like we talked about the fact that there's tens of thousands of players on the server and phasing and all of that is going to require some juice on your phone. You're not going to be able to play it like on a flip phone. I mean, maybe if you're like Dr. Disrespect, but other than that, you're gonna need to get yourself a nice phone, a decent phone to play it, and we just proved it, so it works. So I'm pretty happy. Tens of thousands, phasing in and out. It's not gonna be you're not gonna have any lag issues. Somebody asked that.
Yep.
So I like that as well.
Exactly. There was another question I just had right here. Oh, connecting with Battle Pass. There will be a connection. You'll be able to connect Diablo Immortal with your Battle Pass. I don't believe you're going to be able to use your currency on your Battle Pass to pay for things inside of Diablo Immortal, at least not upon release. So, but as far as, yep.
I was gonna say the exciting part is cross-platform, right? So you'll be able to play it on your iPhone, and then you'll be able to play it on your Android device and go back and forth as long as you're logged into your battle.
Yeah, and that's not something that a lot of games do. But like usually if you start your account on an Android phone, you're pretty much bound to it without having to go through some major steps to switch over if you happen to get a new phone. But this, you just log into your Battle Pass on whatever your device is. You can play on Android, iOS, no big deal, which is a great feature. With the technical alpha, it was not easily moved over from one to the other. So basically, I had 3 accounts on my iPad. I had my Barbarian class on my phone, and they weren't really connected, which is why when you watch my footage, whenever there's Barbarian stuff, it's on the longer, narrower screen, while the iPad screen, like you're seeing here with the Demon Hunter, was on the other device because there wasn't a connection. We got Muggle Mama in the house, 9ball, SVR, Dread, a whole bunch of people. We got Bang Bang in here, a lot of people from the Diablo community coming here to support the Immortal podcast. We appreciate you guys. But Nemo, we are coming to the end of the show. I want to ask you any final topics we want to just kind of quick fire through. Any questions that we missed that we want to do quickly towards the end? And yes, more testing before launch. What do we got?
I have a question. In fact, my last thing here is going to be a question for you.
Me?
Because last time you asked me if I like kale or was it Brussels sprouts and broccoli. But my question is actually about Immortal. So now that we know the beta is going to be wiped, and I know that when the next beta comes out, if there's a new class, you're going to be jumping on that new class. But forget that. Let's say if there is no new classes, beta comes out. What are you going to do? What's your plan? You know it's going to get wiped. Are you grinding one character? Are you grinding multiple characters? And if one, which one?
Good question. It's something that I have thought about as well. If there's a new class, I'm playing the new class. By the way, my gut is telling me the Crusader is going to be the first class that we see. The Necromancer will be the second next class that we see. That's just my gut. I just get the feeling they're going to make us wait for the Necro. It's just going to keep us on the line. But I would play mostly the majority of my play, because I'm going to want to play through the new zones and start grinding some Paragon. I've already played all the classes. I'm going to play the Barbarian again, man. I really enjoyed playing the Barbarian. It was my favorite class from the technical alpha. So that's the one that I'm going to grind. I'm going to grind to endgame, and then I'm going to push Paragon with that. Will I mess around with other classes? Probably, for footage, because, I'm here creating content as well. It's not just about me playing and enjoying. It's about me testing for Blizzard. It's about me testing for the community. So I will play others, believe it or not. Unless if there's major changes, like let's say they throw some major changes into a Demon Hunter. I may want to test that out, see what those changes are. But if things remain basically the same with the classes, my second class would be the Wizard, which was actually my least favorite class from the technical alpha, and I am in the minority here because it was actually the most popular class. But I would play that one again to give it a second shot. That's the one class I didn't get to max. Reason being, I was so in love with the Barbarian that I wanted to just play more of that. There was like 4 or 5 days left in the alpha, and I said, you know what? Do I want to grind my Wizard to max for the next 2 days, or do I want to just get in more Barbarian? And I went with the Barbarian. So I'll flip the question to you, Nemo. What are you going to do? What's your plan?
Well, tough one. New one, of course. Like you said, I'll play the new class. I didn't play Demon Hunter that much. I watched a lot of gameplay of it, but I didn't play it that much. But to be honest with you, I can't even kid myself. It's gonna be Wizard all day long, man. As soon as I jump on, I'm gonna get a couple classes, get my Wizard and start grinding, get to the highest Paragon, get to all the coolest gear. I want to really bite into the Wizard, get really involved. Same thing with I'm gonna back end the Barbarian as well. I'm just gonna go right behind the Wizard, but I cannot wait to just get to the highest, craziest levels with the Wizard. That's gonna be my class for sure.
Nemo 100% saying that because SVR is in the chat, and he's trying to suck up to SVR right now to be the Wizard family. No, I'm just joking. Nemo did love it. I mean, in Clash of Clans, his clan is called the Scrappy Wizards, so he's always been a fan of a Wizard anyway. And I mean, listen, even though it was my least favorite class, it doesn't mean at all that it wasn't a class that I didn't enjoy. I did enjoy the wizard. It was, you know, it's always a tough question. Like, what did you like best? What did you like the least? They were all great. I loved the barbarian because of its tankiness, because of some of the skills and some of the abilities you're able to do. Someone in the chat said, I'm surprised Echo said barbarian. I thought he was going to say monk. Monk was my number 2. Monk was amazing and is an amazing class. A lot of diversity, a lot of ability and agility with that class that you don't have with the barbarian. But once I started grinding, because when you start a class, it's very different from when you put 30, 40 hours into a class. Maybe not that many, 20 to 30 hours to us. It changes drastically as you unlock the skills. And beginning, when you first get a class, probably the monk would be my favorite. But then once you start grinding 10, 15, 20 hours in, it's got to be the barbarian for me. So that's what I would go in with again. But Nemo, that's the episode for today. Episode 9 of the Immortal Podcast is in the books. We're kicking around the idea of doing another episode next week if we think that we have more topics to talk about, because there's a lot to unpack here from BlizzConline. Although at first glance, there didn't seem to be a ton of information about Diablo Immortal. Us being able to attend some of these back room meetings gave us a ton of information that we're here to share with you guys. We're able to do that. So I want you to stay tuned to Nemo's channel and to my channel for all those videos that are going to be coming out, really just looking at what was said and breaking down our thoughts from what was said as well. Those videos are going to be coming out probably as we produce them. I don't think there's any reason for us to wait and schedule stuff. We may as well just get the info out there for you guys. Why make you wait? But if we have stuff to discuss, we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll bring a guest on again. Sometimes it's nice to chat it up with a third. We have a little space in between us right here. We could squeeze 9ball in right here in between us just so that he can have that little inch of space. He doesn't need the full cam slot. But Nemo, my man, thank you so much for coming through and helping me with this show. It wouldn't be a show without you. I want to say thank you to the community. You guys have been awesome. And I'm talking about the community on YouTube as well as the community on Twitch. By far, this Diablo community is the future of me being a content creator, a full-time creator here on YouTube. So I appreciate you guys. Nemo, take us out of here, man.
Thanks so much, Echo. This was an action-packed episode. Like you said, there was a lot of stuff that we got to see that others didn't, and we'll be breaking that down for sure. I feel like we kind of tried to high level this because there was just so much information. Maybe we should have another episode because, like you said, there's so much info that was packed in this. Thanks so much for being here. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. I cannot wait to have another episode with you. I love you all, and I'll see you very soon.
All right, guys, have a great day. Remember to check out the content and get ready for another testing round. It's coming soon. Take care, guys. Be good.